This is a ReTV documentary. Episode 11 of Crocodile Tears.
St Leonards on Sea, East Sussex, March the 16th, 2018. Just after 7:30 at night, a man is captured by a security camera. In his left hand, he openly carried...
You see on the CCTV footage, he's approaching the house, and it's with quite a stride, a confident stride.
You can hear him smash his way through the glass.
One woman in the house makes a desperate 999 call.
Sussex Police, what's your emergency?
My sister's crazy ex just smashed through the window and shooting. He's got a weapon.
The noise, the screams, and then in two short bursts, he fires an automatic weapon.
Motorists pass by, unaware of what's happening just yards away.
He was in the premises for 3.5 minutes, and he then left.
As he strides away, police arrive.
Two armed officers jump out and go heading towards him, very bravely, knowing full well that he's been reported as armed.
He continued to walk towards the car park area.
He swings round with the weapon in his hand. The security camera shows the one nearest very smartly dive for cover quickly behind a wall. There's this incredible crawling all over the place trying to find this man who's armed and on the loose, and they don't know what he's going to do next.
The police helicopter was brought into action to search the beach.
Press 1 permission. Go ahead. Yeah, we've got a lone person walking along the water's edge. Yes, see you coming across the beach.
The aerial footage picks up the heat of the people on the ground, and you can see armed officers closing in on him. It's incredibly dramatic. They literally surround him, taser him, and arrest him.
His name is
Craig Savage. This story is told by the BBC. A man who murdered his estranged wife and mother-in-law in an execution-style shooting was jailed for a minimum of 38 years. Craig Savage was found guilty of shooting Michelle Savage and Heather Whitbread at their East Sussex home after a trial at Lewes Crown Court.
Craig, tell me about forcing entry and shooting your ex-wife, Michelle Savage.
The former soldier shot Mrs. Savage 6 times after she refused to reconcile with him. Savage also shot her mother-in-law 7 times and killed the family dog Zeus. He had denied the murders but was found guilty by a jury and jailed for life with a minimum 38-year tariff. Savage had claimed he tripped and the gun went off accidentally after a struggle with Mrs. Savage when he broke into the home in Saint Leonards on the 16th of March 2018. He said he did not intend to hurt his estranged wife but had planned to kidnap her and hoped police would shoot him dead in front of her.
What were you thinking when you took a gun to that house? What were you going to do with the gun?
I wanted her to come with me. Just get in the car, go somewhere quiet. And I just wanted her to watch.
To watch what?
The police kill me. I wanted her to see it.
Mrs. Savage's sister Raven Whitbread, who was also in the house and 7 months pregnant at the time, ran away and phoned police. In the call played to the jury, Ms. Whitbread, Raven, who was 24, is heard to say, "My sister's crazy ex has just smashed through the window and is shooting."
Sussex Police, what's your emergency?
My sister's crazy ex has just smashed through the window and shooting. He's got a weapon.
Mrs. Savage's 80-year-old grandmother, Patricia Groves, hid from the gunman and escaped unharmed. The court heard how after their separation, Savage, of no fixed abode, uploaded revenge porn because his wife refused to have sex with him. He then poured paint over the family cars and slashed their tyres. Savage, then a lorry driver, admitted stealing a semi-automatic rifle from a nearby firing range, but was cleared of a charge of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life.
What were you thinking when you took a gun to that house? What were you going to do with the gun?
I wanted her to come with me. Just get in the car, go somewhere quiet. And I just wanted her to watch.
To watch what?
The police kill me. I wanted her to see it. It wasn't supposed to happen though. I didn't go there to kill him. It was me that was supposed to die, not them. I didn't go there to kill him. It was me that was supposed to die, not them. I wanted to die. And I wanted the police to kill me. She came charging at me. We were wrestling with the weapon. But she's strong. The weapon went off so many times in so many different directions. She went down. She came charging at me. We were wrestling with the weapon.
Did you intend to go to that house and hurt Michelle?
No. I fell. And the weapon discharged. And that just erupted.
Did you intend to hurt anybody else in that house?
No, I didn't. No one was supposed to get hurt. Just me. Just me.
Let me introduce you to Coolcast, the only app that you will need if you want to make podcasts. Coolcast is an all-in-one podcast making app. With the app, you can record, edit, publish, and promote right from your phone. You can record in person with only one phone, or you can use multiple phones via phone call. One of the more innovative features that the app has to offer is the live podcasting. This feature allows you to have a live audience while you record. With this feature, you can choose to interact with the audience at any time. For example, you can ask them questions on topics, say that they won something, or just make new connections. With this feature alone, Coolcast brings something new and innovative to the podcast world. If you make or want to start making podcasts, you really should make Coolcast the next app that you download. Carol Wardell. Carol Wardell was a 39-year-old building society manager from the West Midlands of England. On the morning of Monday the 12th of September 1994, her body was discovered by a passing motorist on a grass verge on Weddington Road in Nuneaton and Warwickshire countryside. Following the discovery, detectives went to Carol Wardell's home and found her husband Gordon Wardell bound and gagged and in a state of distress. Staff at the Woolwich Building Society in Nuneaton, where Carol Wardell was the branch manager, also contacted police to report that they couldn't enter the building because she had failed to turn up for work and reported that the branch appeared to have been ransacked. Following those reports, armed police and a police helicopter were sent to the Building Society and entered the premises to carry out a search. When the building was found to be empty, forensic officers entered the building to search for forensic evidence. Police later confirmed that almost £15,000 and Building Society checkbooks had been stolen from the Building Society strong room. Police cordoned off the scene where Carol's body was found and began searching for clues in the long grass of the verge. Police at the scene said that the body appeared to have been dumped from a vehicle. Police later confirmed that Carol had been strangled. At the Wardells' home, officers cordoned off the area immediately surrounding the house. Gordon Wardell was taken to Coventry and Warwickshire Hospital, where he was treated and questioned by police. He told police that he had returned home on Sunday night to find a man wearing a clown's mask, holding his wife at knife point on the living room sofa. Gordon was punched to the ground and drugged. He did not see his wife again. The investigation was headed by Detective Superintendent Tony Bayliss of the Warwickshire Police Force. One of the first actions taken was to hold a police press conference to appeal for information and witnesses. Carol's husband Gordon Wardell appeared at the press conference in a wheelchair, wearing sunglasses and visibly shaken. He described how he had returned home to find a man wearing a clown's mask and a dark blue boiler suit threatening his wife at knife point. He had been grabbed from both sides, forced down, and lost consciousness after a cloth had been put over his face. He didn't remember anything else until he awoke later, bound and gagged. During the press conference, questions were put to Gordon Wardell regarding a previous conviction he had for grievous bodily harm. He responded that he didn't see how the question was relevant and reiterated that all he wanted was for his wife's killers to be found.
Reports of Mr. Wardell serving a 4-year jail sentence more than 20 years ago for grievous bodily harm to a teacher's wife were put to him.
I don't think that has any relevance on this. I just want my wife's killers caught.
On Sunday, the 2nd of October, police, with the assistance of Gordon Wardell, carried out a reconstruction of his movements on the Sunday night before his wife was found murdered. He traced his steps. Having left his home in Meriden, he had driven to Coventry to post some letters at the main sorting office, before driving to a public house located in the suburbs of Coventry, where he had had 2 drinks before returning home to find his wife held at knife point. Police hoped that the reconstruction, which was covered by local and national media, might jog someone's memory so that they might come forward with new information. Early during the investigation, police began to suspect that Gordon Wardell's story was not all that it seemed. Wardell had previously been convicted of a serious sexual assault and grievous bodily harm in the 1970s, for which he had spent time in prison. This had brought him under suspicion. Members of the press had also discovered this and raised questions about it during the press conferences. During the police reconstruction on the night before the murder, Wardell visited a public house in Coventry called the Brooklands, but none of the staff nor the customers remembered seeing Wardell in the pub. The manner under which Wardell had been found tied and gagged in his home also didn't make sense to investigating officers. He had described being attacked by two men approaching him from the side just after he had entered his house. Officers, however, noted that there wasn't enough room near the door for the two men to stand or hide. Wardell had been found by police in his underpants, tied and gagged on the living room floor. It didn't make sense that police found Wardell's clothes and shoes had been placed carefully to one side near where he was found. Wardell had stated that he had been made unconscious by a drug administered via cloth that had been placed over his face. The drug had left him unconscious for several hours until police arrived the following morning. Experts had stated that there wasn't a drug that could be administered this way that would sedate Wardell for any more than a few minutes, let alone all night. A drug could have been injected, but would have required medical knowledge and wouldn't have lasted for more than 7 hours. Police became aware that Wardell had been visiting prostitutes in the red light district of Coventry. Two of the prostitutes came forward to tell police that they recognised Wardell from regular visits he'd made to them. On Thursday, the 20th of October 1994, Gordon Wardell was arrested on suspicion of murdering his wife. He was taken to Nuneaton police station to be questioned. Wardell was questioned at the police station for 4 days before being charged on the evening of the 23rd of October for the murder of Carol Wardell. He was also charged with the burglary and theft of £14,126.67 from the Woolwich Building Society. His trial was held at Oxford Crown Court. The prosecution alleged that Wardell had killed his own wife, dumped her body, and then staged an elaborate scheme to deceive and divert attention away from himself. During the trial, the jury was told how Wardell had been found lying on his living room floor in his underpants. He was gagged with a strip of cloth, his hands tied with plastic cable ties to a plastic refuge sack holder. Ambulance crews who attended the scene noted that Wardell did not have a raised heart rate or high blood pressure, although appeared to have bruising on his stomach. Wardell told the court that he had returned home from the pub at 10 p.m. to find his wife being held at knife point. He was grabbed from the sides and forced to the ground. When asked if he had killed his wife, Wardell replied, "Absolutely not." The trial lasted for 6 weeks, during which 128 witnesses were called. At the end of the trial, the jury was sent out to consider its verdict. The jury deliberated for 9.5 hours before returning a verdict of guilty. On the 21st of December 1995, Gordon Wardell was sentenced to life imprisonment. The Home Secretary set Wardell's minimum tariff to 18 years. In 2007, through his solicitor, he made an application under Schedule 22 of the Criminal Justice Act 2003 for his minimum term, the amount of time before which he would be eligible for parole, to be reduced. The judge who considered the application ruled that the minimum tariff of 18 years set by the Home Secretary would stand, less 14 months Wardell had already spent in custody awaiting trial.
Discharged from hospital, appearing still shaken and emotional, Gordon Wardell addressed a police news conference and appealed for public help in finding his wife's killers. The 40-year-old warehouse manager told of returning home on Sunday night to find it had been taken over by the gang.
The man had got hold of my wife and was threatening her with a knife. I was grabbed from both sides at the back and forced down. He was wearing a clown's mask and a dark blue boiler top suit.
What happened after that?
I lost consciousness and didn't. The next thing I know was on the floor, bound and gagged.
He tried to describe his loss.
She always worked hard and always did her best and was totally conscientious. Security was always there. We were always worried about it.
Reports of Mr. Wardell serving a 4-year jail sentence more than 20 years ago for grievous bodily harm to a teacher's wife were put to him.
I don't think that has any relevance on this. I just want my wife's kills gone.
And his thoughts about the killers?
Totally evil.
Rewards in the manhunt now total £50,000. The only new development in the inquiry is a second sighting of the getaway car from which Mrs. Wardell's body was dumped. Andrew Simmons, ITN, in Nuneaton.
Neil Entwistle.
Hopkinton Police Recorder call, Sergeant Wallace.
Hi, this is Priscilla Matarazzo. I'm calling because my daughter moved to Hopkinton about a week ago.
Yes.
I haven't heard from her in 2 days, and I was up there today. She was expecting me. There was nobody there, and I just heard from her girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
She was expecting for supper tonight, and there's no one there. We can't reach her by cell phone, and it's really unusual for her to do this.
Okay, what's her name, ma'am?
It's Rachel Entwistle and her husband Neil.
Okay, hang on a minute. Rachel
Entwistle, E-N-T-W-I-S-T-L-E.
Okay, and her husband's Richard?
No, Neil.
Neil, I'm sorry, same last name?
Yes.
Okay, and what type of vehicles does she have? Do you know that?
They have a white BMW R3.
Okay, is it registered to either one of them?
It's registered to Rachel.
Okay. All right.
There's a 9-month-old baby.
Okay. And I know that's kind of a, there's not many houses up there, so, and you said she just moved in a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know if she's happened to met the neighbors or anything yet, or would it
I don't think, no, she hasn't mentioned that she had met the neighbors yet.
And if we make contact, you just wanted to have your daughter give you a call?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Joanna and her sister Maureen are still at the house outside and, you know, waiting in the driveway.
Okay. Does the house have a garage on it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And they were supposed to, her sister was supposed to be over there for dinner tonight?
Joanna, her her girlfriend Joanna.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it said it was her sister. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was there today. She was expecting, I haven't been able to reach her by cell or the house phone since 10 o'clock this morning. both Joanna and I last heard from her, spoke to her on Thursday.
Okay, and everything was fine then?
Yeah.
Okay. Does the house, does the garage have windows in it?
No.
No windows?
No. And there is a dog, Sally. She's a basset hound, and we've heard her barking.
Jurors in the trial of a British man accused of killing his wife and baby daughter heard Friday this tape recording of him saying he had not done the right thing by flying home to England without calling police.
I didn't have, any means of contacting them. I didn't know their numbers.
Neil Entwistle is accused of fatally shooting his wife Rachel and their 9-month-old daughter Lillian Rose in January of 2006. Entwistle denies killing his wife and daughter and claims he returned home from a 2-hour shopping trip to find them dead. On the recording, Entwistle sounded flustered as he tried to explain why he didn't call police or seek medical help for his wife and daughter before flying back to England the day after the killings.
I had to get out of the house. I didn't even think.
Prosecutors have depicted Entwistle as a man who was obsessed with sex and searching the internet for ways to meet women. Ross Simpson, The Associated Press.
This is a story you've heard many times. The script is always the same. Make sure you subscribe for that series, Family Annihilators. A lot of the time I get info from Wiki for these videos, but for this story, I found an article in the Nottingham Post. In the early days of 2006, the whereabouts of Neil Entwistle was a question which was dominating the media on both sides of the Atlantic. His wife and baby daughter had been found shot dead at the family home in Massachusetts, but the 27-year-old was nowhere to be seen. Was he on the run? Had he gone to ground? When it emerged that he was staying at his parents' Nottinghamshire home, the press descended on their modest, semi-detached property and workshop. With satellite vans and newspaper reporters camped out in the quiet cul-de-sac, it was a scene which was difficult for friends and neighbours to come to terms with. But back in the States, there was a family grieving the fresh loss of their daughter and granddaughter, and a team of investigators determined to bring the killer to justice. Neil Entwistle was from Worksop in the East Midlands of England and went to the University of York to study electronic engineering with business management. And it was there, in 1999, that he met Rachel Souza. Rachel was from Kingston, Massachusetts, and had graduated from nearby Silver Lake Regional High School in '97 before going to College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts. This included studying in York for a year, and she got to know the Entwistles through the University Rowing Club. The club met 5 or 6 times a week to train, and Rachel coaxed for the men's rowing team throughout '99. One member of the club said Neil always seemed quite quiet and was not a regular going out sort of person, and that Rachel was something of a novelty, being American and having her own American coaxing instructions. She was very bubbly, outgoing, very positive, and was well liked by the men's squad. However, something clearly clicked as the couple began spending more time together. University friend Benjamin Pryor would later tell a court they seemed a really loving couple. They were very comfortable in each other's company and good fun to be around. After graduating in 2002, Rachel taught English and drama at St. Augustine's High School in Redditch for 3 years, while Entwistle worked for IBM and a defence technology and security company in Worcestershire. Posting a message about Friends Reunited in June 2003 about what he was up to, Entwistle said, "Making bombs and other stuff for a living. Would tell you more, but I'd have to kill you." He also added, "Getting married to the most amazing woman in the world this summer, Rachel, we met through rowing. Living south of the Birmingham border is my only complaint in life." The couple were indeed married in Plymouth, Massachusetts in August 2003 and followed the service in the States with a wedding reception in the UK in November that year. Their early married life, living in Worcester, was documented on a family website designed by Neil which included photos of a Mediterranean cruise the couple enjoyed in Christmas of 2004. Then on the 9th of April 2005, their daughter Lillian Rose was born. It was that change to their lives which spurred the couple to move to the States where they would be closer to Rachel's family. They emigrated to Massachusetts in September of 2005, at first living with Rachel's mother Priscilla. On the 12th of January 2006, moving to the town of Hopkinton, a small, typical New England town with 14,000 residents. It had doubled in size over the previous decade as Boston commuters moved in, but remained a tight community with a lot of churches and active PTAs. Entwistle, an IT expert and computer programmer, had moved to the States in the hope of finding employment there. But, unable to find a job, before long he had racked up thousands of dollars in debt. He became involved in selling computer products through eBay, but there were complaints from dozens of buyers who said they had not received goods that they had paid for. An eBay fraud investigator would later tell a court that Entwistle had 6 different accounts set up in his name. He also ran a website for a get-rich-quick scheme which offered 24/7 support to those with adult internet businesses, and promised a profit of $6,000 a month within the first 6 months, but that obviously later closed down. In the meantime, Entwistle was looking for sex. He visited various adult dating sites and sent a series of emails to other women saying he was looking for more fun in the bedroom. His profile on the site, recovered by investigators from his laptop, read, "I'm looking to meet American women of all ages. I need to confirm what friends have told me that you are much better in bed than the women over the ocean. We both want the same thing, so there's little point dragging it out here." As late as the 18th of January 2006, he searched for Sex Escort Services Westboro and Escort in Worcester, both towns nearby, and looked for details about the Blonde Beauty's escort service, his trial heard. Entwistle's defense team tried to suggest that Rachel too had become dissatisfied with the couple's sex life after they had spent time living with her parents in a small house with little privacy. But Entwistle's searches went beyond looking for escorts and other women. In the months before he murdered Rachel and Lillian, in amongst the internet searches for jobs, cheap flights, and get-rich-quick schemes were search phrases including knife in the neck kill and how to kill with a knife. At some point, the timings are still not clear, Entwistle drove 50 miles to the home of his father-in-law, Joe Matarazzo, in Carver. Mr. Matarazzo was a member of a shooting club, and months earlier Entwistle had fired a .22 caliber Colt revolver on a visit to a shooting range with the family. He took the revolver from a cabinet at home before driving back to Hopkinton. He shot Rachel, 27, in the head, and a 9-month-old Lillian in the chest, in the master bedroom of the family home on the 20th of January. Later that day, he drove back to Carver to return the handgun while his mother-in-law and father-in-law were still at work. He would try to claim that on Friday he had been shopping in Staples, had returned home to find the bodies, and had driven to Carver because he wanted to get a gun so he could kill himself. But at no point did he call the emergency services. Instead, on leaving Carver, he drove his BMW to Boston Logan Airport. He withdrew $800 in 2 transactions at the airport on the evening of the 20th of January, but 3 more attempted withdrawals totaling $420 were declined. On the 21st of January, having used a credit card to buy a one-way ticket, he took a British Airways flight to London Heathrow with no luggage. The Entwistles had invited some friends around for dinner on that Saturday night. Joanna Gately and her sister Maureen arrived at the house shortly after 7 p.m, but found the house locked with the 2 lights on inside. Concerned, they called Rachel's mum Priscilla, who the same day had turned up for lunch with her daughter and got no response at the house. Together, they decided to call the police. 2 officers arrived at 8:30 p.m. and went inside, walking through the house for any clues about where the family might have gone. Sergeant Michael Sutton said later, "I could see into the bedroom. There was a large bed in the centre of the room. It was unmade. It looked as if all the bedding had been piled up a bit. There was nothing out of place other than the bed being unmade." They locked up, left, and went back on patrol. The Gateleys, however, were so worried that they spent a freezing night on the driveway in their car, leaving 3 times to use a toilet at the gas station, as they waited for the Entwistles to return. The following morning, on the Sunday, the sisters got a code for the garage door from a neighbour and let themselves in. Plates and food were left out in the kitchen as if the family had just eaten a meal. The bath was filled with water as though the couple had just bathed their 9-month-old baby daughter. They checked the master bedroom, the bathroom in Lillian's room, where there was classical music playing, and then sat in the living room watching TV before Rachel's mother and stepfather arrived. The group decided to file an official missing persons report at Hopkinton police station. Sergeant Sutton returned to the house to conduct a second search, and after entering the house through the basement, he noticed a smell that had not been there the previous day. He followed the odour up through 2 floors, reached the master bedroom, and approached the unmade bed. There, beneath the blankets on the unmade 4-poster bed, he found the bodies of Rachel and Lillian. Both dressed in pyjamas, Rachel had her arm draped over the chest of her baby and her feet curled up into her body. At that point, 27-year-old Entwistle was simply a missing person. Assistant DA for Middlesex County said the goal that first night was to find Neil Entwistle. No one knew where he was or if he'd been hurt too. In fact, he was back in England, but he didn't go to his parents' home in Worksop immediately. Instead, after leaving Heathrow, he drove 800 miles around the country. It's not clear exactly where he went, but at 11 p.m. on Saturday, he tried to withdraw money at a cash machine in Manchester and spent the night in a hotel. But 36 hours after arriving back in England, he turned up at the house of his parents. He told them he'd found his wife and daughter dead, and Hopkinton police were quickly in contact with Entwistle, speaking to him by phone on Monday the 23rd of January, although they did not make public where he was staying.
And I'm calling you from the Hopkinton police station, okay? Okay. All right. And can you talk to me for a few minutes? Yeah. Okay. I want you to know, too, when we call here from a police station in Massachusetts, okay, the calls are recorded on this end. Is that okay? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. You understand that, right? Yeah. Okay. And I'm sorry to tell you.
Entwistle spent 2 hours on the phone to Massachusetts State Trooper Robert Manning in a recorded conversation that was later played in full to the court. He said he had found the bodies and fled to England to be with his family in a state of panic. He told police he had not even cried properly in the 3 days since finding his wife and baby daughter dead, adding, "I pulled the covers over them, and the only thing I could think of was the knives we had got downstairs. I pulled the big one out and held it towards my chest. I think it was just the thought of how much it was going to hurt. I just couldn't do it. I don't know why I didn't." Entwistle also had several conversations with his father-in-law, Joe Matarazzo, between the 23rd of January and the 25th of January. And it was also around this time that the first questions began to be raised about Entwistle's business interests. But still, the district attorney said that Entwistle was not a suspect but simply a person of interest. On the 26th of January, US cops flew into the UK to question him, and the following day he was seen leaving the Worksop house. He went voluntarily to the US Embassy in London with a police escort to speak to the American detectives, but after legal advice did not talk to them and returned to his parents' home. Back in the UK, Entwistle was living what appeared to be a remarkably normal life, while media was still gathered outside of the house. In early February, he ate out with former York University rowing friends in Notting Hill and also went to the cinema. It was not until a week after the funeral, on the 8th of February, the Middlesex County District Attorney's Office issued a warrant for Entwistle's arrest. He was arrested on the 9th of February at Royal Oak Underground Station by Metropolitan Police after boarding a tube when he heard police were on their way to arrest him. He was carrying a blue bag containing a notebook which detailed how he wanted to sell his story to the highest bidder. On one page, he professed love for his Orange Rose and My Lily. On another, he called his wife his soulmate and very best friend. But in another section, he had drafted 2 letters to editors. In one, he described himself as a close friend and confidant of Entwistle, who he said wanted to tell his side of the story. He wrote, "What's of interest to us is what price you will be willing to pay for the exclusive rights to the full story." It could have taken months to get him back to the US, but on the 15th of February, he was flown to the States after agreeing to waive his right to contest the extradition order. On the 16th of February 2006, helicopters full of camera crews followed Entwistle's short journey by police car from the police station in Hopkinton to his first appearance at the court. Following his appearance, he was led away in shackles, and while awaiting trial, he was ordered to be held without bail in Middlesex County Jail in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Entwistle was on constant guard and was monitored on CCTV. He was kept away from other inmates and only left his cell to shower. On the 28th of March, he was indicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder, illegal possession of a firearm, and illegal possession of ammunition. 2 weeks later, he pleaded not guilty to all charges. Entwistle's DNA was found on the grip of the .22 Colt revolver used to kill his wife and daughter, an ammunition container, and a gun lock, while the DNA of Rachel, who had no interest in guns, was found both in and on the muzzle. Entwistle broke down in tears as he was shown footage of the house, the crime scene, and the bodies. But apparently the most harrowing moment was when Lillian's blood-stained baby clothes were held up high in court for all to see. A bullet hole clearly visible through both the polka dot pajamas and baby grow she was wearing when she was shot in the chest by her own father. On the 25th of June, after 13 hours of deliberation, the jury found the 29-year-old guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder and illegally possessing a firearm and ammunition. The following day, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Entwistle was seen mouthing the words, "I'll be alright," to his family in the public gallery as he left the court.
Is the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty of murder in the first degree of Rachel Entwistle. Guilty of murder in the first degree of Lillian Entwistle.
After a day and a half of deliberations, a jury found Neil Entwistle guilty of murdering his wife and infant daughter.
After being found guilty of murder in the first degree, it is ordered by the court to be sentenced to the Massachusetts Correctional Institution at Cedar Junction for the term of life. On indictment number 2006-387-002, after being found guilty of murder in the first degree, it is ordered by the court to be sentenced to the Massachusetts Correctional Institution at Cedar Junction for the term of life. This sentence to run concurrent with indictment number 2006-387-001. As to indictments 2006-387-003 and 004, possession of a firearm, possession of ammunition, that you be sentenced to probation for a period of 10 years. This is to run concurrent with the sentence imposed in 001 with the following condition: that you will not profit in any way from the sale of your story. $90 victim witness fee will be imposed. $65 probation supervision fee will be imposed. 861 days will be noted on the minimus to accompany the said institution. Custody, Mr. Officer, and wait for the men.
Court will be in recess.
Guys, we'll stand in recess.
So, with that, Neil Entwistle leaves court. Certainly for the last time in this particular hearing, hearing from his lawyers that he will ask for the case to be reconsidered, but at least for now the judge has said that, in fact, there's Mum and Dad just taking a moment to reflect on the news that her son will now spend the rest of his life in jail without any possibility of parole. That's his stepfather and also his brother. His mother insisted outside court yesterday that Rachel Entwistle had killed her own baby and then taken her own life while she was depressed. The jury choosing to believe a different story, that Entwistle had murdered both his wife and baby daughter before fleeing to the United Kingdom. He was later extradited back to the United States.
Thanks for watching. If you got this far, I actually love you. If you enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up. If you want to support this channel, smash that subscribe button now. What are you waiting for? Peace. You've been watching a ReTV documentary.